Now, Victor, now you can say hello. Hello, Victor. How are you? Just coming from some kind of run. Very, very hot here outside in your city. Summer is coming. Summer is coming, and it's coming for real. I'm saying to everyone that it's a sad that we are gonna lose this lovely weather we have in May, and we are gonna get lots of degrees summer hotness in no time. We reached today 32, I think. That's starting to be not a cold place to be. I have my ventilator on the ceiling, just giving me some fresh air. That's enough. And in a few weeks, the conditioned air will have to be started. So, Victor, first things first, thank you very much for sharing your time with us today, as always. Today's presentation from Victor is around Serverpod. I think, Victor, that I sometimes I didn't pronounce that correctly. Do I have to say Serverpod is a backend made in Flutter or is made in Dart to be true? So sometimes just trying to get the because we talk suddenly about Flutter, but it's a backend made in Flutter for Dart application made in Dart for Flutter applications. Yeah. So we have your slides ready, and I'm gonna give you the stage in a second. Let me prepare it, and you're gonna start your presentation. And at the end, I will check if there is any question on the community discussions, and if there is any, we will answer. So you can go. Thank you, Victor. No. Victor, sorry, one second. Sorry, I'm sorry. Wait, sorry for interrupting me, because our colleague Manas is telling us that there is some kind of problem with the transition. So I think he's right, and your sound is not arriving to the streaming. So allow me 1 second to try to. Yeah. One second, I am. Could you please talk? We didn't have time, the regular time we have always to check the mics, remember? And then suddenly it's happening. Ryan from Canada is also saying this. Could you please talk?
Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone.
I think this is not working. So there was a problem with the transmission. So please, could you please go back to the starting point? Yes. And just we will start again. Now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Victor Carreras. I'm CTO Mobile Experience in DCX in Gemini, Spain. And I would like to talk about the Serverpod. Serverpod is the is a backend for in Dart for Flutter developers. Why is exactly for Flutter developers? Because we will see most of the advances that we will have if we use Serverpod, because we will share a lot of logics between the front and Flutter apps and this Serverpod backend. So we will be able to minimize the effort and share as much as we can information that we will be able. But before to start, we need to understand, when we are talking about backend, we need to understand backend basics. Serverpod backend basics means so we will be able to use relational databases. I know backend doesn't mean it is mandatory a database. Serverpod is not an exception. Few days ago, Serverpod released the last major version, second 2.0. So yay, we have a new major version without database. They name it as Serverpod Mini. So it means there is no, it is not mandatory a database, but the regular Serverpod use databases for most information. Also, we will see some cases where we're gonna need it, but in any case, Serverpod, the regular version, use relational databases. So with PostgreSQL. But what does relational database? It means we need to store data in tables. Also, it means use relations to connect tables. Search quickly using SQL queries. So it means we have to search information using it means over the hood SQL queries. But in our regular cases, we will not use it because we have ORM. So we will be able to use objects to do this. But let's to review in a while. We will be able to models map data to tables. So because this is how relational databases works. This is the picture of any client server app. It means we have a Flutter client, we have an API server, and the client make a request to the API server to get some information, and this API server will make requests only if it is needed to database to collect information that the client need and return it. So this is how it works, but we have some weakness about this architecture. Why we have this? Well, we have the most weakness that we have in the client server apps is the models, because the server will publish a service where the client will make different requests to get the information. But when sometimes the team working in the client will not be the same with to the team working with the API server. So that means both teams will not be aligned every time. So sometimes server, for any reason, have to modify something, and with we also they need to publish the agreement or the contract of the request or the repository. So that means the backend team has to publish every different change, but sometimes the client will not be updated with the last modification for any reason. I don't care. But the point is the app will crash because, I don't know, in the contract at the beginning, the company model, the name could not be empty, but somehow now, well, I mean, the at the beginning was empty, but now cannot be empty, and for any reason the app start to crash. So sometimes things like this happen. Also, this happens more times that I would like to say publicly. This happen. This is the worst weakness in the front and backend apps using this client server model. So I would like to present this technology as the most helpful tool to avoid this kind of weakness. Okay, but when we are building an API server, we have to serialize of data because, of course, backend is using a different technology as frontend. So when they are creating backend apps, they create the APIs, and when the app, the client wants to get this information, they are using different technologies. So they have to use JSON as models, where the backend will return this information as JSON, and the clients has to map the their properties of the JSON and create their own objects. So this is a lot of extra effort because, as we said before, we have to create to make public the contract of the endpoints. Also, in the front end, they have to create the code of make the requests. So if they want to connect to the repository, they have to create the logic of the models for map the answer or the response of the request. Also, they have to create using any dependency or any technology in Dart or any language about how to connect to the repository using different keys, different headers, manage all of those kind of information. So think about how much effort we are talking about. All right, more. We have to define endpoints and methods. Of course, we have to in any language because that's the point when we are publishing or we are building an API server. We have to keep in mind the scalability, because actually in the previous model it was working properly, but after it's a good one new about inside of the company because everything goes well, but now the server who was running I don't know hundreds of requests now is addressing 100,000 requests. So this is a good news, but we have to keep in mind how we can balance, how we can load balancing for scalability. This is something that we have to keep in mind. Now, looks, our project, our model, our client API server with a single database is growing up too far. So we have to connect the client with a balancer who has to select the different API servers instances who are running our server API. And all of them have to be aligned with the cache and the database. So this graph give us a point of view about our app now is a bit harder to maintain, let's say. But let's talk about Serverpod overview, because until now, we don't have a clear point of view about how Serverpod can help us. All right. Serverpod is the missing server for Flutter because we have a lot of beautiful things. For example, We have a great login. So we have an internal monitoring tool where we will be able to see what is happening in any time of our servers. But you can tell me, all right, but what's going on if the server was restarted for any reason because for somehow the server stopped to work, for example. All right, don't worry, because in any case we will be able to read this kind of information because the monitoring tool is working directly in with a database. So that's why at the beginning I said we will need, or we will love to have, the database. There is a mini version without the database, but our monitoring tool needs a database to storage the logs of your app, and it will be done automatically without any modification. You don't have to do anything. So it's brilliant to have, because as we are seeing, it's really helpful. Also, we can locally on server or with Redis. So with Redis, we will be able to build in caching. So this is awesome. It's optional, completely optional. In 2.0 version and in the previous one, this is something that it was done from the beginning. And the database access is using an integration with PostgreSQL. And in my point of view, most of the server or backends, most of them need a database, because as we are saying, only for monitoring tool makes sense to have to. So how other things that we can use? Well, it's awesome, but we can say, okay, we can have file uploads, authentication, data streaming. Tax executing is awesome because we can directly work in a server without cron tasks. Cron tasks have been these kind of things. For example, every week you need a task that you need to, I don't know, for any reason, clean the database. I don't know, maybe it is not by week, but maybe by month, or for some reason you cannot have a really big database about this information, because more than 1 month it makes no sense to collect it, because nobody is consulting so far. So we can work with task scheduling inside of Serverpod, so we can manage everything inside of the same project. And this, for me, is awesome. The health checks that we are talking about, the monitoring tool, and easy deployment, because we can deploy in the most of we can deploy in Google Cloud, we can deploy in AWS, so we can deploy easily in any place, in any cloud, or most of them. Looks, this is the monitoring tool. This is where we can collect everything. We can read information about what is happening, the endpoints, the methods, the timestamp. So it's awesome. We can filter by error, filter by warnings, filter by any different kind of logs. We can review all sessions, only failed sessions. So it's awesome, because this tool is named Serverpod Insights, and they are releasing a new Serverpod Insights in any major and minor version of the Serverpod, so we can be in parallel updating both. All right, how can we install Serverpod? Well, because this is a Dart app, we have to use Dart path, and then we can insert the command. And as we can see, we have to install Serverpod CLI. Serverpod CLI, let's see again, is Dart path global activate, and then the name of the app, Serverpod CLI in this case. We can see Serverpod is using a lot of things. It's using Serverpod client, Serverpod SARET, Serverpod service client, Serverpod serialization installation, and we can see the version of all of those dependencies. Well, if we want to test it, we can just only text in Serverpod, and we will see the version, language service, the update also, and how we can create a project. All right. When we create a project, we have to use Serverpod create and the name of the project. In this case, my pod is the name of the project. And we will see, after that, we will create 3 different projects. Any of them is only for a single use case. So we will have a backend repository, a front-end repository, and a SARET repository, who will be written for written by the backend one, but it will be read by the front-end app. So it's awesome because now the repositories and the models will be generated automatically without any just a single command. We will see in a while. So we can see we need to go to my pod server. That is the Serverpod server. The Serverpod. That is the Serverpod. The backend repository. We have to run Docker and run with Dart the app. All right, let's see. We have 3 different folders. As I was saying, the client, the Flutter, and the server. Server is the backend. Client is the SARET one, and Flutter is the front-end app. So keep in mind, because we use the name mypod, and they are adding, Serverpod is adding the underscore and the client, Flutter or server suffix at the end of the name, where we can understand which kind of project we are accessing. So in this case, we are accessing the server. We are with Docker Compose app. We are running the mypod server. We are running the database, and we will see Serverpod Insights, the monitoring tool, is listening on port 8081. Server default is listening, the server in itself is listening on port 8080, and web server, so this is for WebSockets and things like that, is listening on port 8082. All right, cd mypod Flutter. Flutter run -d Chrome is running the front-end app. And we will see, this is the template where we can understand how Serverpod works. And we text a single word, send it to the server, and we will read the hello prefix or sentence, but the full sentence is returning from the backend. All right, Serverpod basics. We have a config file where we have YAMLs. Those YAML files are for the byte information that we need. For example, development. In development YAML, we have the information of the APIs. We will have a YAML for any different environment development, for example, API server, inside server, web server. Production and staging will have the same. So we will have information for development for the port, the host, the protocols, things like that. So, for example, we will see the public host, the public port, the public scheme for all of those API, insights, and web server for those three environments. Also, we will have the passwords for development databases, for Redis, for staging, and for production, and for service to communicate between servers. So, and these passwords YAML will be skipped automatically. Also, we will have the live SRC endpoints, where we have all of the full list of the endpoints that we have. We will have models. This is where we will define manually in YAML, where we will be able to create our models, the name of the class, the fields, like the kind of, or the type of all of the types. And we will have to understand, we will be able only to create models from I will say this kind of ints, bool, int, double, string. So all of the primitive types. And also, we will be able to create fields in the database for other classes, other serializable classes, exceptions, and enums. So, and also lists of objects and types. So that means, for example, we will be able to create a model of a list of employees only if employee is a serializable class. So that means we have a employee model too. Also, we will be able to have we will have a folder for endpoints, and other folder for models, and future calls for the cron that we are talking, tasks where we can run in periodically. So that's the structure of the Serverpod or the backend project. So now we will use Serverpod generate to generate the code, and after that, with only this command, we will generate the models of the project. What does this mean? Well, this means we, in the front-end app, we will read this as a dependency. So we will have this third project as a dependency of the Flutter project. So we will be able to read the updates of this dependency. My recommendation is to split those three folders in three different repositories, because we will be able to make brilliant things like use PRs request to trigger, for example, Serverpod generate, split things like that, where we can read different files for different environments. For example, if you want to run the production version or the development version with different, completely different versions, this is a easy way to manage these kind of things. How can we create endpoints? Well, endpoints are created in live /src/endpoints directory. Endpoints must extend the endpoint class, all of them, and the methods must return a typed footer. like promise that like a promise grapper. The first parameter must be a session object. So this is a clear example with an example endpoint. We have an example endpoint, extending endpoint. We have a future string, so it means it will return a string as a string. The first parameter is session, but we have a second one with a name. Well, the session will not be sent by the app. It means when we are developing, we don't have to send the session because it is done by the dependency of Serverpod. So you only have to send the name, and also the endpoint, the prefix, the suffix endpoint will be splitted. So we only have an example object as an endpoint with a hello method with only a single name parameter. Now let's see. We have example.hello without a session and without the repository name. And result is now hello world because this is what we are returning. The models are defined in YAML files. To place the models in the lib-src-protocol directory, and when we run Serverpod generate, we can make those models accessible. So, for example, in this case, we are defining a company with a name as a string, founded date, like a datetime, optional datetime, employees as a list of employees. So it means employee, it is a serialized class. So looks, now we are creating a company with a name, within a list of employees. So this is awesome because we can access to any property in the backend and also in the front end, because this is awesome because now we have the model shared between backend and front end. And also we can use those models to map in a database. Only adding this table, we will have a company table with those columns as properties, name, founded date, employees. So this is brilliant because only with a single line, we can directly create a lot of, or generate a lot of effort. That it is awesome. Also, we can migrate databases, as you can see. The creation of the migration is something that Serverpod has put a lot of effort, because the new 2.0 version has a lot of improvements on the migration of databases. And also we can load a migration to apply. Looks, we are applying migrations. So this is something awesome. Database basics, because we can persist data, as we saw before with the company. Looks, any object that we use the table, we have .database, .insert row. Don't forget, because this is backend code, because we don't have to do these kind of things in the front end app, because this is something from the backend. And don't forget all of the, because this is something mandatory, the session must be the first parameter of the any method of a repository. So we will be able to insert a company or an object inside of the database using SQL sentences, but as you can see, we are not doing it. Also, we can persist, we can find by ID. We have a lot of find first row with a where condition. Uh, so we have a lot of ways to work with a database without to insert SQL manually. Also, we can work with exceptions because exceptions uh, can be serializable. So that means we can create custom exceptions from the logic of the app and can be created and shared between front and backend. So this is awesome. And also we can serialize enums. Also, we can create model documentation. This is awesome. We can create documentation from the front end, only creating these three symbols in as a comments, and the apps in the front end will have also the backend, but also the front end will have the full documentation of the objects and the models. And what about if we want to hide some properties? All right, if we want to hide some properties in the model, for example, we have an employee, but we don't want to share, for example, the bank account of an employee in the front end app because this is dangerous, because legal department told us this is not allowed. So we have to, well, Serverpod is up to date, and we can hide single properties or full classes or models where we don't want to share some properties of a model or full model. So this is something awesome that we can do. And that's all from my side. So I hope you find it interesting, this tool. Yes. No, they are pros. They sent a public email about the list of the update emails that they have, and they said we are proud to say we have 7 people working in a full time in the Serverpod project. Also, couple of days ago, they released the major version 2.0 with Serverpod Mini without backend because some people were talking. If I don't want to use a database, why must I use a database? And they said, okay, all right, let's create a version and a simple mini because it is Serverpod dash mini and mini, and they will create a Serverpod project without database.
Very nice. It happened again, Victor. what you were saying now, it was on the audience, but not my words, because I closed all the mics and didn't remember to come back the mics. But okay, Manas and Ryan are on the streaming, and they told me that I was not on the streaming. Nothing happens because the important thing was your answer, and my question was about what was the pace of development of the Serverpod thing. And you say that mini version. Could you please repeat again what it's for? We're going to wait for another minute.
They have a mini version. This is the most the most biggest thing that they have done is this Serverpod Dash Mini, where you can create Serverpod project without database and without Redis, only a single. But in my point of view, the monitoring tool needs a database because they are storing the logs of the project. So I would suggest, because I understand like MVP or something like that, but in any
but they need some database.
Exactly.
I get the point. So another question, Victor, is that we have. This session today is for the Liquid Galaxy community and any other people that wants to listen to us. But my question is going to be, what do you think about? We already did some Serverpod stuff before, but do you think that it can be implemented in any of this year GSOC projects?
I think so. I think so because they also are offering, because this is an open source project, but they have a paid support. Like if you need, if you want to do something,
No, I'm asking about our open source project, so we don't have budget. So I'm asking.
I know, but I mean, as far as I see, Serverpod has a lot, have some of success cases. For example, surgeries of company in UK. So they have some
you mean
cases.
That there are some big companies already implementing the technology in real cases.
But I was reading because Victor, the founder, was asking in the
community. That's true that you share the name. But he's with K instead of C, no? It's Victor with K instead of C.
It's with K, yes. And he said he was asking who is using Serverpod in open source and other projects. And I read some, of course, not really, really noisy names, but it looks for me amazing technology to minimize the effort, because most of the like proof of MVPs or things like that, you don't have time to create an API, a server, run.
Okay, maybe what we can do. Go here. No, still this was back. Maybe what we can do is just you're doing a pretty nice work doing, I would say, evangelization to our community and to other people in that case for the Google developers communities in Spain, and then maybe for the upcoming wave after this GSOC, because people is already coding with their own stuff. Maybe for the autumn, some of the projects coming will adopt this technology. So I think there are no questions, so I think it's time to start to close. It's been 50 minutes, no, 48, because we started a couple of minutes late. So thank you, Victor, very much. Come back to your duty, heavy duty, because you have just moved your house, as I think. You have pretty large family, so thank you very much for staying with us.
Thank you for the offer to
be here. I think we can make it public. We are going to see us live in not too much time, because we are heading to Berlin at the end of the month. Hopefully we will be there sharing beers and lots of Google stuff. So thank you, Victor, and see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.